Hey everybody, Steve from Flite Brothers, and today I'm doing this quick review on this gorgeous new Diatone Tyrant S plug-and-fly version of their latest quadcopter frame. Now Diatone has told me that this is essentially geared towards the more beginner flyer, the more beginner quadcopter pilot who is interested in doing kind of freestyle and just learning. So they've gone strictly for durability and affordability. And from what I've seen in pre-orders, the price tag on this fully built, as you see it right here, the only thing different is that I've now thrown a pair of Cyclone props on. It came with these black props instead, which I'll talk about a little later. But everything you see here, ready to fly. All you have to do is add a receiver, is coming in right around $220, which is an amazing deal for a product like this. And I'll go over some of the details of what you're going to see when you do that in a moment. So this is basically an affordable, highly durable, great flying little frame that Diatone's putting out. And so far, from what I've seen and experienced by a couple of quick test flights, this is a great little quadcopter. So let me just go over how it shows up. It comes in this white box. If you saw the review on the Crusader GT2 from a while back, the same box is used for the Tyrant. Got nice pre-molded foam that it sits in. The antenna's off and attached, stuck in the foam there. You've got a couple of baggies, one with battery straps and some extra O-rings for soft mounting the flight controller, some extra motor mount screws, frame screws. You've got a baggie full of wires for connecting up the flight controller to the built-in PDB and the for the VTX and different things like that. So if a wire goes bad or if you need to extra connect something, you're going to have everything you need here. And plus the wires for connecting your receiver to the flight controller are also included. You also get a package with directions, a manual for the SP2 stackable VTX that comes on there, a manual for the frame itself. And also this, which I thought was pretty neat, is a little manual with full description on the ESCs that are included on here, with full description on all the setting parameters and everything it can do and what those all do for you. So that was pretty neat. All tucked in here with a set of 4 props and prop nuts. Now the props that come with it, they flew pretty good for 30 seconds until I hit a tree. Here it is. Yeah, and when that happened, I did break one of them, and I'd have to say, honestly, I'd love to see if they would, maybe throw 2-3 sets of props in. That would be a much better deal for someone. So if they're getting it, they've got a few extras to start. But if you're going to buy something like this, please go order yourself about 10 sets of extra props just so you have them. It's nothing worse than getting out there and breaking a prop and not having props to fly. It's a silly reason not to fly. So buy extra props. But it came with these, which I think are basically just a clone of one of HQ Props' new designs, or maybe even the Racecraft ones. They're labeled 5042s. It's kind of an unusual design. They flew fine, but they're not as durable, I don't believe, as some of the other props out there. So that's why I have the Cyclones on there now. So let's look at some of the details on this. As soon as I got this out, I was really impressed with some of the small details that they go through with Diatone, which make a huge difference. These are inlaid in the CNC process. They are CNCing these little strips and the Tyrant S logo, and then they're filling them with yellow paint just to give that extra detail and labeling it. It's such a small thing, but man, it just looks fantastic on there. You have on the camera mount here, the HD camera mount, not sure how well you can see that, but here is these really beautiful machined aluminum parts that are holding the HD camera mount on top. And those are nice, beautiful curved pieces. Are they structurally going to hold up really well? I sure hope so, although where this is attached together looks a little thin, so I'm not sure. I hope it holds up. I'll let you know the more I crash it, but a few good crashes and nothing so far. On the back end, the VTX antenna mount, a nice machined piece of aluminum screwed in underneath that fits really well. The XT60 connector, connected directly to the PDB, mounted in there, tucked away, where you're not going to get a chance of, cutting the leads or anything with a prop, which is pretty nice. And it seems really solid in there. It's a little tight. You can see in there, it's a little squished from the VTX mount, so it's a little tight getting the battery in, but it does work just fine, so no worries there. Another thing I noticed right away, look at these standoffs, these aluminum standoffs on here, and they're the same with the short ones all the way through. Super beefy. I mean, there's still the regular M3 standoffs at the top and the bottom where the screws go in, and there's still M3 screws like most standoffs, but man, you don't have much of a chance of bending one of these or damaging them in a crash. So I think that's going to really add to the durability. Speaking of durability, this is top quality carbon fiber from what I can tell. You've got about 4¼ millimeter thick arms, and complete base plate with an inlaid PDB inside. You have a 2 millimeter top plate and 2 millimeter HD camera mount plate with top quality carbon fiber, and so this thing I'm sure is going to hold up really well. I have an original Tyrant frame. It's the 185 4-inch frame, and it's a fantastic frame, and this thing has seen some wicked crashes, and it doesn't even have a scratch on it. It's a fantastic frame, and I understand that the new Tyrant frame is going to be just as durable, and I have the utmost confidence that this is going to be a super durable frame for anybody to fly. And another detail that stuck out to me right away, look at these inlaid screws on the top plate. Really fantastic. When I took those out to put the receiver in, I noticed that right away. Those are inlaid right down. So in the CNC process, they just sunk those down a little bit. Some people might say, well, you might be compromising the integrity of the carbon fiber there by thinning it out. But, it's probably still a millimeter thick, and you've got this really nice plate with no screw heads for putting your battery on. That's really quite fantastic. It's just a nice little detail. That's the thing I love about these Diatone frames. They pay attention to little details like that. As we're going on, let's talk about some of the other specs. The motors, the Diatone let's see, there it is, the M225-23. I believe that means these are 2205 motors at 2300 kV. And honestly, plenty of punch, plenty of power, but not overkill, which is great, again, for the beginner freestyle pilot, or really for anybody. This thing really did get moving, so that's a great starter frame and a great power setup. 30 amp BL Heli S ESCs, the same ESCs that come loaded on the Crusader GT2 frame, for the most part have been pretty well tested on the Crusader GT2s. There were some issues with requiring settings for DMAG high and all that. I'm interested to see that with these different motors, if any of that changes. Another thing is the flight controller. This is the D-Link V2. So this is an all-in-one flight controller. It's kind of interesting because they have the inlaid, fully functional PDB that's inlaid into the carbon fiber bottom plate. And that gives you all your PDB features, but then they also use the D-Link flight controller. That's an all-in-one PDB as well. So kind of an interesting choice, but it's kind of nice, if you're buying just the frame kit, you've got the PDB and you can throw any of your favorite flight controllers on without worrying about it. With the D-Link in here, it's just their flight controller of choice from Diatone. That's what they're really going with in the manufacturing, so that's what they threw in here. They soft mounted the flight controller, which I love. So they're really listening to details and listening to the things that are going on in the world of FPV and quadcopters. And they're doing things like that, which is fantastic. Soft mounting that flight controller just to help out with some of those mid-throttle oscillations that I do experience with the Crusader GT2 not being soft mounted. and with my Tyrant on the Diatone F3 not being soft mounted. So I felt none of that kind of issues because of that, which is fantastic. The SP2 VTX stack mounted under there, another fantastic detail. That is a switchable power 25, 200, 600 power output VTX that is mounted in there with a tether, a pigtail that goes out to the VTX mount, and it comes with this VTX antenna, which is just a standard circular polarized cloverleaf antenna. So far pretty durable. I don't expect this to last terribly long, but there are plenty of great antenna options out there that you can add to this yourself. It is, by the way, it is SMA, not RPSMA. So it is SMA here. So you're going to want the pin on the antenna itself. If you can see that, you can't really. But anyway, this has the hole in it. And always remember to connect your VTX before you power on the Connect your VTX antenna before you power up the quad, or else you could potentially damage it. Oh, speaking of that, when you do power this up the first time, it appeared as though the SP2 VTX on mine was in the no power output mode, which is great because the potential for damaging it is greatly reduced, if not none at all. But just be aware of that. When you go to use it, you might not have a signal. You're going to have to long press that button right there. See if you can see it. I can get past the prop there. That button right there on the SP2 right there is the button that you need to press. You long press that for 5 seconds. It'll switch to the next mode up, which I believe is 200, and from there. But the manual for that, to double check, is comes with it. So just know that and double check. One thing about the VTX that's a little tricky is it's quite hard to see the LED. The LED readout for the VTX is tucked down in there, and it's a little difficult to see what channel and band you're on when you are connected to that. So just something to keep in mind when you go to fly it. As far as connecting a receiver, just keep in mind that there's not much room. So when you're choosing a receiver for this, you're going to want to go with something that is nice and small. I chose to go with the new FreeSky XM Plus, which goes with my TyrantS really well, and this is absolutely tiny. I mean, it is smaller than most standard ESCs. Full range FreeSky receiver. So this is what I went with. I hooked it up. It hooked up really easily. I used the wire that is it says PPM and S bus wire, and connected it onto the left side and of the flight controller right here, and that wire goes out and connects to the 3 pins on my receiver, and it was absolutely simple to hook up. I mounted my wires with the with my antennas with the zip tie method. So this is just a zip tie sticking up that's attached through these holes in the back. Works out great. I also added, in case you're wondering what this is, I also added a power lead for my HD camera. I use a Foxeer Legend 2 camera, which sits fantastic on this camera plate. Works well for the flat profile cameras, and already angled at around 40 degrees, maybe 35, 40 degrees, which is awesome. And a GoPro would mount on there very well as well, but I added just a little power lead and soldered it to the 5-volt pads on the PDB right down here. So if you're wondering what that was, that's that. So a couple of things. Durability wise, so far I only had a few small crashes. Here's the worst one here. As you can see, smashed it right into the side of a tree. Wasn't going too fast, but I mean, if you look at this, you know, apart from a little bit of grass, there's no marks on here. I mean, that thing took that like a champ, no problem. So that's pretty cool. It seems like it is just built like a tank. Oh, as far as build, weight, I know a lot of people might be curious about that. As hefty as this is and as solid as this is, check this out. If you can see that, it only comes in at a very respectable 390 grams. 390 grams. You can add yourself a nice 1300 4-cell battery and you're still under 550 grams, coming in at 546. Add yourself an HD camera like an Foxy or Legend 2 and you're still under 600 grams. That's a very respectable weight for a 5-inch quad. So that's really cool too. Nice weight for this thing. And just a great feeling quad. The only thing that's a bit of a downside, so far, in my opinion, everything fantastic, very impressed. The only thing that's a little downside is the camera. This comes with the standard cheap CMOS Diatone camera, which does a great job in some situations. But if you have any situation with light changes, you're really going to struggle with this camera. The good news is they have made sure that if you want to upgrade, that a standard... hold on. A standard HS1177 CCD camera, one of the more popular FPV cameras out there, same form factor as a Runcam Swift, probably an Arrow, and those types of cameras would still fit in here too. They have made the provision that one of these will still fit right in here, no problem, so nothing to worry about there. If I popped this camera plate off, this would drop down in there, I could get the mount in there, and you could use an HS1177 with no problem. To be honest, I'm probably going to do that anyway. I might switch the camera angle out, make it a wider camera angle, because I've done that before. I put a 2.1 in one of these cameras, let in a little more light, did a lot better job for me, but it's still not the greatest situation, so I will probably upgrade this. I forgot to mention one thing too. The built-in PDB on here, really full featured. You've got full 12 and 5 volt BECs. Those are going to be switching BECs, so they're the better kind that provide good clean power. It appears, although at every ESC they have built-in capacitors for power handling, it also appears that they have, I can see them inside there, I'm sure you can't see them, but it looks like they have LC filters in several different places throughout the feeds to make sure your power is nice and clean. And to be honest, my video on the SP2 was flawless. The signal was strong and there was zero interference on any punch outs or anything like that, which is better than I experienced with the Crusader GT2. So they definitely did something even better on this one to make that happen. So, my opinion, absolutely. For $220, this is amazingly worth it. This flies amazing. I really felt like it flew good. It's going to require some tuning out of the box. I was happy to see when I connected it to Betaflight, it was pre-set up. UART3 was already set up on Serial RX. In the configuration tab, it was already set up on SBus and Serial RX, and it was ready to go. The only change I had to make, so beware of that, is that the receiver tab in Betaflight was set on some unusual channel assignment, so I had to change it to the normal AETR aux arrangement to work with my TyrantS. That was the only change I had to make. Comes with the stock PIDs on the most recent Betaflight flash with all those configured already. If you're going to use a PPM receiver or satellite Spectrum or something like that, you're going to have to, or FlySky, you're going to have to change in the configuration which protocol you're using, but it was already pre-set up for SBus. I didn't have to change anything when I hooked my receiver up here. Just bind it, change the channel assignments in the receiver tab, and set up modes, and I was good to go. So that's pretty cool. I was very happy to see that. Another thing to keep in mind, please make sure, I didn't do this, so sorry, but please make sure you use something to wrap the ESCs before you fly. They do move around. You don't want anything to pull off in the air and lose control. So wrap these with something. I prefer to use there's a silicone tape that sticks to itself. I don't have any within arm's reach, but it's a great product that works really well. You can see it here on my mini quad club frame. It's all dirty from yesterday, but this silicone tape here works really great. But wrap those with something and hook up your receiver, bind it, and man, you're off. So I'm going to leave you with my flight footage that I have from earlier. My first couple of flights with it, just really impressed. It needs tuning. It definitely needs some tuning. You can see it in there. I try and get some suggestions out there for what you can do to help tune it better. But it flew good. I was really impressed. Plenty of punch, plenty of power, plenty of control, and very happy with it. And I think you will be too if you're interested at all with going with it. So another great product from Diatone, which I want to thank very much for sending us to test out this product, and I applaud them for a job well done on this one. Really impressed. So that's it for now. Enjoy this flight footage. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And guys, thank you so much for constantly supporting the Flite Brothers. We'll catch you next time.